I have been attached to this vision of my life where I was super accomplished, outperforming the majority of people, and generally being somebody who lived a really exceptional life. The idea of having an average life or even just being an average person was something that I had a very deep aversion to. And I would say that it was something that horrified me, but I think it would be disingenuous for me to say that, considering that never rendered in my mind as a possibility. The idea that I could end up being an average everyday adult was something I never accepted as a possibility for myself up until very recently. I started off being seen as very gifted, and I was often praised for my academic abilities. I got a lot of validation from that from a really young age. I'm guessing that praise from a young age subconsciously planted that initial seed of wanting to grow up and not waste that natural potential. Whenever I was really young, I don't remember dwelling on my ambitions for the future, except sort of just accepting that I would continue down that trajectory of being an advanced student. Even in elementary school, the idea of being put into a regular class instead of the advanced classes was horrifying to me. The idea of not getting any kind of academic validation as a single digit old was terrifying. Whenever I became a preteen, that idea of wanting to be notable in more ways started to emerge. With my YouTube channel, I remember being 12, where I worked really hard on my videos. Sometimes I wake up at 4 a.m. just so I could edit my videos, and I always fantasized about what it would be like to blow up on YouTube and be monetized, and be in middle school spending my own money with my own card instead of borrowing my parents' cash like everybody else. Just things like that. Not wanting to have a mundane teenage/preteen life that fed into that overarching desire of just wanting to stand apart. Being a teenager, I was really starting to grow tired of the need to depend on people and live under people. I also began to feel really stifled in the place that I was at. I had developed a really strong desire to live on my own terms. Now I'm an adult, that desire is especially there as an adult. There's nothing wrong with being in your 20s and living at home if that's the most convenient situation for you, but that was something I felt very averse to. And I just wanted to have my own space where I could be free on my own, able to support myself without relying on other people, and therefore I would be able to guiltlessly set my own boundaries. Getting into my 20s, I realized how naive I was to think that would just be an easy ride for me. With the economy changing, having a regular salary or having what once would have been a good salary just doesn't seem enough anymore to actually live a life of freedom and independence. There's a lot of young adults having their own salary and still having to live with their parents or depend on their parents for some kind of financial support. This just really instilled in my mind that desire for freedom. You know, I wanted to have freedom, and it seemed like you had to go above and beyond just to get freedom, to have a life where you could feel free to live it. In my opinion, there's two sides of the conversation about not wanting to be average. There's a side of just not wanting to be an average person, which is what I was talking about earlier in the video, that desire to be set apart from the masses. Then there's the side of not wanting to have an average life, wanting to have a life that's not only fulfilling and interesting, but also a life where you have financial independence and stability. From my perspective, it just seems like there's a lot of shame around being what's perceived to be average. Somebody who has a regular job, goes to a regular school, just doesn't really stand out in any kind of way. That shame seems to be amplified with technology and social media. There was actually a video that I saw on social media posted by this man. He's married, and I'm pretty sure he and his wife have a baby, and he was just posting videos showing his everyday life. He showed himself going to work at what seemingly looked like a very basic office job. He just showed himself walking his dog, going home, taking a shower, and just relaxing. It didn't seem like he was trying to build a business. It didn't seem like he was trying to amount to these crazy aspirations. He was pretty content with what his life was, just having a regular job, having a family, working his job, and then going home, being with his family, walking his dog. And they got so much backlash. There were people saying, this is the most depressive thing that I've ever seen. There's no excuse for this. This is the problem with men nowadays, and just giving this man really nasty backlash for being happy, working a regular job, not trying to build anything. And side note, I don't know if people realize that we need people to be working jobs. Businesses wouldn't exist if there weren't people working for the businesses, and I was just failing to see where the disconnect was with that. But it just seemed like, if you show yourself not amounting to these crazy ambitions or just generally not being ambitious, it's seen as sort of a negative. It's weird if you tell someone I'm happy working at a taco shop or working at the post office. I feel like there is a level of backlash that comes with that. Back to my point about the video, I feel like a lot of people who felt comfortable enough to pass judgment on that man and his lifestyle, or people who perceive themselves to be on a higher level, people who had some success with entrepreneurship, e-commerce, trading, or just anything else that might have allowed them to build a financially abundant life for themselves, and a life that probably did allow them to have a lot of freedom. From their perspective, I think it was easy to look at somebody answering to somebody else to get a paycheck and then going home to a regular life as being pitiful. It didn't occur to them that man might just be happy with his life because he was living a life they deemed as undesirable, and he was functioning at a level they deemed as being beneath theirs. He didn't seem to be ashamed of the life that he lived, but I believe a lot of people in a similar position probably do adopt some of that shame. It seems that the shame around living a less abundant lifestyle is almost projected onto people. So many of us, regardless of what position we are in life, will always see ourselves as functioning beneath somebody else. There's just no real way around that unless you're Elon. For a lot of people, there'll always be this sense of jealousy looking at somebody who seems to be living a life above yours in any regard, not just with career. Conversely, I think a lot of people will try to look at ways that they are above people to assuage negative feelings they feel about themselves in their lives. I've reached a point where I don't really feel like I do this anymore, but it's something that I definitely have done before. I definitely have been on both sides of that coin before. Who wants to spend their life doing that? Who wants to live their life constantly competing with everybody and constantly thinking, I'm above most people in this area, this person is above me in that area? Who wants to do that? I feel like if you're constantly thinking of yourself in terms of average, above average, below average, you are competing with everybody else. Those terms are used to describe where you are relative to everybody else. Even with a lot of self-development content, there's this obsession with being of the elite in the top whatever percent of people to be above 99% of people. I used to be very immersed in that wavelength, but I've come to realize how exhausting and unfulfilling it is for me personally. I just don't want to feel like I'm constantly in competition with everybody else around me. I want to be better, and I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to develop yourself, but it should be something I do because I want to make the most out of my life in a way that's actually meaningful to me. I don't want the things I do to be ego-driven. I don't want to accomplish or pursue things for the sake of feeling better about who I am compared to who everybody else is. I'm very aware not everybody super accomplished or super ambitious is that way because they want to feel superior to other people. A lot of people genuinely care about having the benefits and the freedom that comes with achieving a certain status because people want to have freedom. For example, on social media, people are either posting a bunch of TikTok videos or they're clipping dozens of different shorts from the same YouTube video, presumably to increase their chances of going viral because short form content is just what goes viral nowadays. I used to look at that and think it was kind of cringy in a sense to be constantly trying to go viral and clipping a bunch of clips from the same video to try to go viral. Now I really don't pass any judgment towards anybody doing that. The viral content creator slash influencer lifestyle permits a lot of freedom because it seems really difficult to get a job nowadays. Anybody who has a job, regardless on if you work in the professional field, if you work at Quick Trip, I'm just impressed with anybody who has a job because I swear these jobs have 5% higher rates. Speaking from my experience, I think I have a fairly decent resume, and I have even been rejected from multiple retail and fast food jobs. If it's this bad for retail and fast food, I can only imagine how hellish of a process it is to try to get a job that actually requires years of experience. And I can only imagine how jarring it must be to go through that process, potentially 4 years only to get laid off and to be immersed back in that process with very slim chances that you're going to get a job right away. People who do have professional jobs, they could get laid off from their jobs at any point. And especially with AI on the rise, it seems like the majority of people are not safe from random layoffs. There's people who have been in certain industries for decades and they're getting laid off because AI is taking over. It just seems like there's no longer that security just having a job, even if it's a decent paying job. I can 100% understand not being happy with a regular job, potentially always having to look over your shoulder, wondering if you're gonna get laid off, knowing that you're expendable. That mindset of screw this, I want to build my own thing. I don't want to spend all this time working for somebody that I'm replaceable for when I can just build my own security. I want to build a lot of financial security and abundance for myself instead of working for a company where I'm not getting paid what I deserve and I'm expendable. I can't know for sure, but I think that's where that desire is coming from. On top of that, I think people also just generally want to enjoy life. They want to be able to pursue different passions and interests and gain new experiences. And of course, it's still possible to do that with an average lifestyle, but it just seems very expensive and a lot harder to. Finances and expenses are increasing. Everything has gotten very expensive. Even just candy. A bag of chips is $6. I relate to that mindset of just wanting to enjoy your life without constantly worrying about the financial constraints that come with doing that. Even something as simple as being able to just experiment with cooking and trying new recipes. I would love to feel free to just learn how to cook random things without stressing over the price of ingredients. Wanting to be rich or wanting to be wealthy in this kind of economic climate is perfectly reasonable. I have started the process of letting go of these overzealous expectations for myself when it came to what I wanted to amount to in life. Essentially, I'm just doing a complete mental reset. I basically stopped viewing myself through this fantastical lens, and I have fully acknowledged and accepted that I am a regular person. I go to a regular school, I do regular things, and I just don't have the bandwidth to push myself to be this exceptional jack of all trades kind of person who excels at everything and is notable in all of these different areas. As much as I've tried to push myself to be that way, I had to take a pause and accept this kind of mindset has not only gotten me absolutely nowhere and caused me to feel even more directionless, but it's also caused me to reach a place where everything I do seems like a burden or an obligation. So much thought has to be applied to everything I do now. It seemed like I couldn't pursue anything without either thinking, how is this going to make me rich, or how it was going to exalt me above everybody. Even when it came to doing the most leisurely things, playing piano, for example, or reading a regular book, it was difficult for me to even do those things and to not feel like I was being lazy or wasting my potential in some kind of way. I was thinking, okay, you're doing this when you could be doing something that's actually going to get you somewhere. You could be doing something that's actually going to help you make money, be exceptional, or amount to your potential. I reached a point where I was constantly dealing with this decision overload. Well, this thing might not be around anymore because of AI. This thing might not make me a lot of money. I tried to learn this thing and I can't even stay awake while doing this thing, but I'm not ready to give it up just yet. And it was just constant exhaustion that I tried to willpower through every day until I realized this was going to be fruitless. I don't do well with that overly ambitious mindset. And I know some people would hear me saying this, and this is why I just don't talk about this with anybody outside of a video. I don't think I would ever talk about this, but I know people would hear what I'm saying and think that I'm being melodramatic, lazy, and I'm sure a lot of this just probably didn't even make sense to whoever is watching this. This has been all over the place because I'm all over the place, and I need to accept that I am all over the place. I have an immense amount of privilege to even be able to say this because there are a lot of people who don't have the luxury of getting to choose what they want to do because they know what they have to do. People with families and livelihoods to sustain, people who are already significantly disadvantaged, aren't able to wake up every day and question what they should do because they know what it is they need to do for survival. My privilege definitely informs my perspective. still want to be self-sufficient. I still want my life to be meaningful, but I need to really get in touch with my values and actually figure out what exactly does meaningful even mean to me. And it is possible for me to end up having a lifestyle that wouldn't be perceived as desirable. I'm learning to embrace not caring about being seen as average. And I've been learning to find inspiration from everyday people. I'm just as inspired by the accomplished multimillionaire as much as I'm inspired by the person who works at a flower shop, so long as they're both fulfilled in what they're doing. If what they're doing is providing them the security they need. Like I said before, a lot of people don't have the luxury of being able to cultivate a secure and freeing life. So if you're able to cultivate that for yourself in whatever way you do that, as long as it's safe and harmless, I think that is inspiring, regardless on if somebody is a business consultant, homemaker, CEO of a tech startup, bus operator, works at a taco shop, small taco shop owner. You're doing something meaningful for you and you're happy with your life. I'm happy for you. So that's gonna be it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you feel or have felt a similar way for me, or if you disagree with everything that I said in this video and you think I'm just being really dramatic, please respectfully leave that in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all super soon in my next video. Peace.